That file is in the back room, Miss Prentice. I put it away with the old file. Well, his gross average is between $25,000 and $30,000 a year. He's been a client for 15 years. Well, if he wants the records looked up, look them up. After all, we're his accountants. Yes, I'll be here till train time tomorrow. Oh, shudder to think of the confusion I'll have to clean up when I get back. Now, you're sure you'll have this finished by tonight? I would like to have everything packed before I go to bed.
I'll finish it, Miss Burroughs. I've never failed one of my ladies yet. And I think you have a very pretty wardrobe to take to the Green Mountains. I'll bet there won't be a girl at the writers' conference better dressed.
A girl. Sometimes I think of myself as a girl. I used to read these advertisements when I was a girl. Writers' conference, ideally situated in beautiful Vermont mountains, informal atmosphere, advice at once friendly and honest, contacts with other writers, editors, and publishers, provides a stimulating and memorable experience. And each year I'd think, next year I'll do it. And this year I'm doing it.
Well, I'm glad. The talent for writing is God-given, Miss Burroughs, and you have it. You certainly have it.
Well, that's sweet of you to say so, Mrs. Trimmingham.
Oh, I loved your book. It was beautiful. I cried when I read it.
Well, I wish the publishers agreed with you.
You know what I think? I think the people who sent it back never even read it. If they had, they've been on their knees begging you to let them publish it. Now, would you just turn around a little? That's fine. You know, the other day I was making some alterations for Mrs. Todd, and you went by. And you know what she said? She said she could never understand why you never married Todd Stillman.
That was 10 years ago.
But he still likes you, Miss Burroughs. If you've noticed, he's never married. Well, I'll get this sewed up in a couple of hours and press it, and you can pack it. She said that if you had married Todd Stillman, you'd have one of the richest farms in the county, and then you wouldn't have to worry about being a writer.
I don't worry about being a writer. I am a writer. Where is Mr. Brandish's lecture being given?
Lecture room B. The lecture starts very soon.
Mr. Brandish is the editor of Finesse, isn't he?
There he is. Well, you see, Mr. He's one of our best speakers. Have you entered a manuscript for criticism?
Yes, I hope he gets a chance to read it. I would so like his opinion.
Well, you never can tell what manuscript will be picked. He selects them at random, not knowing the author, so he can give an impartial criticism. You'll just have to take your chances with the others.
I suppose I will. Thank you.
Summer after summer, men and women travel from whistle stops all over the country up here to the Green Mountains for this writers' conference. You all come expecting us to tell you that your story should be worth $1,000 of any magazine's money. Now, we editors of magazines are very careful how we spend our publishers' money. We have to be, or we get the axe. So many people seem to think that all it takes to be an author is a typewriter and a ream of bond paper. Many people have the impudence to think that everybody wants to hear them sob their sick little souls out on paper. The author of this manuscript, whom I judge as a woman, is typical of what I mean. Not only she, but many aspiring writers could spend their time to better advantage visiting a psychiatrist. Now, permit me to review this remarkable story for you as briefly as possible. It deals with a dreary little accountant who decides to stop being an accountant and become a writer. Well, so far, so good. As the story opens, the heroine is mailing a manuscript of a novel to a publisher in a nearby city. This novel, she would have us believe, means everything to the heroine. Life itself. The author gives us a tiresome bit about its being a part of her, as though it were the child she never had. She would have us believe that our heroine has paid a penalty for living a life of drudgery. The penalty being the absence from her life of all major emotions that might have given it meaning. I can believe that this author's life is empty. This woman wouldn't know a major emotion if she tripped over it. Now, I'm aware that this author is no doubt at the moment within range of my voice. This may be at the moment unfortunate, but it might conceivably have its blessings. If I can, by taking up this manuscript with candor, turn the author from the obvious error of her ways, something will have been accomplished at this session. Now let us examine the story in detail. What an imagination. This drab little creature suddenly blossoms into a vibrant being, completely unshackled by all inhibitions. She moves from one amour to another, all with incomparable grace and worldly wisdom. I'll spare you the painful details of the accountant awaiting the editor's answer. She finally goes to see him. The editor gives this woman some advice. He says, "For heaven's sake, woman, stop writing. Go out and live. Let yourself go." So, she goes. She goes out, buys herself a pistol, and comes back and shoots the editor through his cruel heart. Any comments?
Well, I was wondering while you were talking, isn't it possible that this plot, if one read it for himself, might prove quite moving?
I sincerely hope, madam, that someone will publish this story and give you the opportunity to judge that for yourself. Personally, I wouldn't have this story in my magazine if I were driven to publishing nursery rhymes in its place. Why? The plot is artificial, completely impossible. The characterizations are phony.
No, thank you. I'll just have a salad, please. Thank you. Thank you.